Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Manchester United podcast, Never Ignored. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the games that we played last week in the Premier League, and reflecting on the result versus Chelsea in the FA Cup. The term "result" is used very loosely. I'm joined by Imti. Imti, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. First defeat in 6 months, so could be better, but it could be worse as well.
Let's give a very brief view of the Premier League games that we played last week because of the time of recording. It feels like a distant memory actually. Um,
Yeah,
but we nicked a draw against we nicked a draw. Southampton
no,
nicked a draw
they
against
nicked a
us.
draw.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Actually, my head's all over the place as a
Yeah,
Manchester United fan at the moment. Yeah, they nicked a draw against us 90th minute. Slightly disappointing that a player so small scores from not a header, but from resulting from a corner.
yeah.
In,
It's a bit disappointing the whole game to us. We came back well after they scored early, but they look like the better team. I don't know whether we just look tired. I think that's been maybe a bit of a theme of the last few games. So no matter how good it's been, I think it does show that we need a bit more depth in the squad. Um, so that we can give some of our better players a bit of a rest every now and then.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
Um,
I think we had that kind of few minutes of hope where Rashford Martial got their goals, but then
yeah,
after that, Southampton pressed quite high. Um, I think that's probably been our kind of our counter over the last few games when teams press onto us high. So yeah, unfortunately, we come away from that game with a draw, which kind of dented that good momentum that we had coming into that game. Then we go up against Palace, which
yeah,
overall was a good result. Um, Still kind of wasn't the same as that tempo that we had in the five previous games to the game before Southampton. But can't complain. Clean sheet,
we
first
got
up,
the result. So
Winter.
yeah,
Yeah, got the result. Some slight controversy there. VAR, quite close offside on IU.
yeah. I thought the offside was harsh, but I guess the argument is if it's offside, it's offside. I still don't know what was offside, but
Yeah,
yeah. The only other incident, I suppose, there's our hard penalty incident. I didn't think that was a penalty myself. I think Lindelof got the ball, but
my opinion on it was definitely if I was a Palace fan, I'd be very upset about that. I think he's got the ball, he's gone through him on a VAR check. Then yeah, he should be given a penalty. But
yeah. I'd say for me, I'm leaning towards the sort of if you take the ball, it almost doesn't matter what you do afterwards. that's my that's my thoughts.
that,
But I feel like football is a contact sport. There's going to be contact.
no, I love it. Those are the
Yeah,
playground
but
playground rules. I remember.
yeah,
If you get the ball, it doesn't matter as long as you get
yeah.
the
I
ball.
mean, you got to take some some reasonableness, like that Romeo and Greenwood incident. If he took the ball first, that still would have been a red card. Um, But if you're in control of things, and it wasn't like it was, pretty. It wasn't very aggressive. It was pretty tame. The Lindelof stuff. I didn't think there was. Yeah, I don't think there was enough in it for me. But
I think it's one of
yeah,
those where it falls again into that category where it looks like VAR have shifted in strategy and it's just agree with the referee unless something blindingly obvious has occurred. Um,
yeah, they started the season like that. Then they went to disagree with the referee on every single thing,
yeah,
and then they seem to have gone back to the first thing now.
or as we like to call it,
But,
the Peter Walton model is the approach that they've gone for now, which is just
yeah,
blindly agree with the referee.
yeah.
Um,
No matter what, just come up with whatever excuse you can.
but
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 yeah, goals for Martial and Rashford in both games. It's good stuff. Can't complain about that.
yeah, they're both up to 17 goals in the league. I think it's 21 or 22 in this season. Quite nice to see them two matching each other. Yeah,
Yeah, goal for goal.
yeah, and it's nice that every time one scores, the other tends to score. Keep it up. Good stuff. So that took us up to, or could have potentially taken us up to third if the Southampton draw hadn't occurred, but keeps us at fifth on goal difference. Um,
Yeah, I mean, since then Leicester have lost again to Spurs, so we're literally it's not even goal difference anymore. It's goals scored. I think they've scored a few more goals than us. That's
Jose
what's keeping
Mourinho
them.
almost doing us a big favour there, not quite
Yeah,
finishing it off. But yeah, if it's going down to goals scored, obviously the 9-0 win to Leicester is kind of skewing things in their favour. But let's see how we go.
yeah. I mean,
Excited
so
to-
we've conceded 35. They've conceded 39, and we've scored 63. They've scored 67. So it's not even that far off, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, 4 goals each way. 4 goals each way.
But
Um,
the Premier League, I don't know. Right now, what's currently kind of fresh in my mind is the FA Cup, the game against Chelsea. And obviously, of course, towards the end of the pod, we'll switch our attention back to the Premier League because naturally that's what comes next and that's the focus. But let's talk about the FA Cup match against Chelsea. Quite a ghostly slash concert like audio, random pop songs booming to a crowd of the match of the day panel.
And it's
3-1 Chelsea. A very disappointing game, and it does probably pin on the fact that we haven't lost a game, as you mentioned, since January. It's been 6 months of, or 7 months even, of an unfamiliar feeling. But to kind of lose in that way, I think is probably the frustration. Three major mistakes, I'd say, on each of the goals that we concede. The penalty was not even a consolation. I think it was just a number on the scoreboard.
I'd actually switched off by then.
It's been, it doesn't sound great, but it's been a long time since I've done that. But I did that because it just got to a point where I was just watching players.
Well, it was for me. It was it was dinner time anyway, so I was already sitting alone in watching the TV. And at 2-0, I still had hope. At 3-0, I thought I might as well just go eat my dinner now. But
let's take it from the start. So the tactics that Ole went in on this game: 3-5-2 formation. He's gone with wing backs. He's made a couple of changes. He's put Pogba on the bench. Started James up top. What do you think about
that? It's tricky because that 3-5-2's worked out for us in the past. But I kind of think that maybe that worked better when we weren't playing as well. But now that we're working well in the 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whichever way you look at it, maybe it would have been better to stick with that. But equally, what we were saying about squad depth, if you're going to have to rest players like Pogba, who else got rested? Shaw was injured.
Greenwood was rested.
A few other changes. Matic was rested. Greenwood was rested. We don't necessarily at the moment have the players to replace them 1-for-1 to do the same job. So I guess maybe Ollie thought in that respect we have to change it a little bit if we're going to change some of the players. I don't know. What did you think?
So first of all, my first point to make is I was really frustrated by the commentators on the BBC team, how they kept kind of putting this notion forward that United haven't played in this formation before. We've probably played in it as many times as Chelsea this season. We've played against City, Chelsea, Liverpool in that formation with 3-5-2. We've won most of those games, I think, bar the Liverpool loss. And one of the losses was technically on aggregate to City. But essentially, it's a formation Ollie's gone with when he assumes the other team is probably going to attack us a lot and we're going to need to absorb all that and then kind of try to hit him on the break. So I kind of see his logic. I think he probably should have stuck with the 4-2-3-1 in hindsight because it's working well for us. And I think his thinking was, I've beat Chelsea 3 times this season, predominantly using that formation. I'm going to do it again. Now, I think the only difference was Frank Lampard's reacted and he's changed the Chelsea formation to 3-5-2 to kind of match us. And you can see throughout the whole game, their wing backs were just a hell of a lot higher than ours. And I think when you go toe to toe, when you match formations, and particularly in that formation, the battle is going to be on how high you can get your wing backs. And I think Reece James and Alonso, they just did a better job in the game than Williams and Wan-Bissaka. Now, I think part of that as well is down to the fact that the schedule that we're playing didn't allow for as much rest as probably.
Yeah, we only had 2 days, which was pretty rough considering how many games we've played.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I think what these guys are professional athletes, they should be fine with it. But you could just see it was kind of clear as day, as particularly our fullbacks who in that formation are expected to run a lot. They just look dead. Williams obviously come back from that knock that he had at the end of the game against Southampton. But Wan-Bissaka as well, he looked incredibly unsharp. He's kind of usually quite fast with his feet and, he does those kind of 1-2s down the wing. But I think the amount of times he was dispossessed or gave a sloppy pass away, it was probably the most I've seen this season for him in a game. But overall, I think we just completely lacked any kind of serious threat on goal. What did you make of the decision to start De Gea over Romero? Because that is probably in the grand scheme of things, and looking back, is the major factor in that result.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you on the day, I thought it was a bit harsh. But equally, you don't expect your number one to make those kind of mistakes. So in a way, I kind of think it's fine. Like he's a bit ruthless because it's a modern day thing where you have a cup keeper and a league keeper,
It's
right?
kind of
And
an act
usually,
of generosity, I think, that the
yeah,
managers do.
usually you just have your first choice keeper and he plays every game unless he's injured.
Yeah.
Which I kind of, again, if it's a semi-final, you want your best players on the pitch, right? So if De Gea's fit, I think maybe he does edge it on priority. But like equally, Romero, he's only conceded 1 goal in the cup this year, which I think he was unfairly criticised for as well, the Norwich one. We discussed that at the time.
Yes.
But it's a tough one. I don't think you can really call it a mistake because you don't expect your number one to come in and do that. I think it'd be different if he'd dropped Romero and picked Lee Grant instead. You know what I mean? And Grant had done that. Then you could maybe say, "Oh, that was a mistake."
Yeah.
But on a normal day, De Gea is not making those kind of. Well, you'd like to think so. On a normal day, he wouldn't be making those kind of mistakes.
So yeah, I see from the kickoff the logic. De Gea is. I say this with a hint of uncertainty in my voice. Is the better goalkeeper, and he starts makes sense. The first goal, he gets kind of a soft hand to it, given the benefit of the doubt. Giroud's in a good position and kind of just flicks it at him, not with much power or anything, but let's give it the benefit of the doubt. The second goal, for me, like, and
there's no defending the second goal.
there's no see. I'm more than happy to defend goalkeepers, usually over generously, but something like that, there's nothing. The shot isn't hit with any much particular power, not much swerve. It's on the ground. He's got a clear line of vision.
There's no one blocking his view or anything.
The distance is not particularly close enough for him to not have a fair amount of time to react. To be honest, in all honesty, it's a very tame shot. It's nothing spectacular. It's nothing that's kind of, he hasn't lost his foot in, nothing like that. He's just got a very weak palm to it for some reason, and weak enough that it doesn't deflect it and it puts it into the back of the net. And from that moment onwards, you just kind of knew that De Gea is a very confident kind of player where he needs to keep making save after save to keep that momentum going. And I'm not entirely sure what it is. I think the standout moment was probably his World Cup campaign for Spain. But ever since that World Cup campaign, he just has not been as sharp as he was, because prior to that, the guy was probably undoubtedly the best goalkeeper in the world. And everyone was saying it, even if they weren't saying it very happily. But since then, he's probably less so last season, but more so this season. He started to make a couple more mistakes again, and these are mistakes that you don't expect from a goalkeeper that is as good as him. And it's a bit of a shame. And obviously, I hope.
I heard somewhere he might have an eyesight problem.
Okay.
Apparently, they identified it early at United, and he had treatment on it, and it was resolved for a while. But there's some theories going around that that's causing him issues again. Which, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I don't know. To me, it looks like it's more of a concentration thing. He just doesn't look that interested anymore.
Well, based on that information about the eyesight, I'd like to apologize today. No, I'm joking. Yeah, maybe potentially it could be. But this kind of changes the conversation now, because De Gea is in a very unfortunate position. There's a young English goalkeeper that's come through the academy at United, that's performing very well at Sheffield. And Romero as well. He also stakes a fair claim, I think, to have a chance to start in goal for us. Now, it probably would be, it definitely would be an overreaction to drop De Gea for the last 2 games. But my thought now is the Europa League campaign. As far as I'm aware, Romero has started those games, hasn't he, in the Europa League? Or has it been a mix? I think it's
actually been a mix, to be honest. I feel like De Gea has started some of the Europa League games, but I kind of think Romero should start the rest of the season at this point. I don't know. It's a bit extreme, but De Gea needs some sort of kick up the backside, I don't know.
It could be that, because look at Shaw. Shaw's kind of turned his season around once the threat of Brandon Williams.
Yeah, with the competition of Williams. Yeah.
And these are professional athletes that thrive off competition. So I think maybe once he hasn't had a serious threat, because if he knows a goalkeeper like Romero, who we all agree is, very good backup goalkeeper, he should be a starting goalkeeper somewhere in the Premier League. And if he knows that guy is never going to be a serious contender for his number 1 spot, maybe he needs that pressure. Obviously, now there is that pressure of Dean Henderson and potential for him to come back in next season. but where do we go from here? I was looking at the statistics, and actually Romero's statistics are not bad at all for us. He's got 11 clean sheets in 15 games for us, and De Gea has 14 clean sheets.
I mean, the argument would be that Romero played against teams like Tranmere.
Yeah, he's played against considerably less talent. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I think people were pretty harsh to him on the Norwich one, and he's never really let us down. I mean, he was a bit shaky when he first joined, when he was first choice, when De Gea was having the contract talks. But since then, he's always been reliable. And he's never made a fuss either about being number 2. So yeah, I think maybe he deserves a chance in the next couple of games. Just make him number 1. See what happens.
What do you think then for next season? Because this has become all of a sudden a 3-horse race. De Gea, Henderson, Romero. I was looking at the statistics for Henderson versus David De Gea in the Premier League, and he pretty much beats him on any kind of goalkeeping statistic that you can think of. I mean,
I like Henderson. I think I said it on one of the previous podcasts that I already felt that we had to kind of do what Mourinho did to Cech.
Yeah.
Henderson's much younger. He seems to be playing better at the moment, and his contract situation is not fantastic. So I don't think we can risk losing him.
There's a hell of a lot of reports today going around that Chelsea are willing to double his salary to 140k if he joins them this summer, and it's across quite a few different sources. So I'm not entirely sure how credible it is, but it looks like they do have some interest.
Unless he tries to force a move, I don't think United will sell him this summer. But I think that means after next year he'd only have 1 year left. And you don't want to get to the situation that we're in with De Gea. Well, let's say De Gea has an even worse season next year, and then you want Henderson to be number 1, but then he's thinking, I've only got a year left on my contract. Maybe I want to go somewhere else now. I think it's worth the gamble, really.
What do you do with De Gea at this stage? Do you say, okay, bank in? Do you say, all right, De Gea, you can have number 2 spot for now? Would other clubs even want to buy him? Because he's kind of an error-prone goalkeeper now. The problem is he's still not old for a goalkeeper. He's 29 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You'd expect him to be in the best form of his life at this point. But
you'd expect at least another 4 to 5 seasons at a good level.
Van der Sar, how old was he when he retired? Like 37, maybe 38.
And Buffon's still
might be older than that. And he wasn't even making mistakes at that point.
So it is a concern, and it's going to be a very tricky one. I think, I'm intrigued to see how Manchester United handle it actually, because they've got essentially what is 3 very good goalkeepers, and I do put De Gea still in the very good category. I know he's made mistakes, but all goalkeepers.
So Van der Sar was 41 when he retired from United.
Okay, that's it. I was thinking it was around the 40s.
So he's the oldest player to have featured in a Champions League final. 41 years, 86 days.
That's incredible. When you said 37, in my head I thought 40, but I thought, no, that's unbelievable. That's how unbelievable that
40,
is.
40 just seemed ridiculous, right? But I think he was already 35 when he joined. He was 6 years older than De Gea is now when he joined, and he had a very good career for us.
The numbers kind of speak volumes in this comparison between De Gea and Henderson, because let's put the numbers to a side, but just look at the quality of the teams that they're playing in. I know Sheffield have had a robust defense this season, but on paper, I don't know, this is a whole probably different debate, but is their back line better than us? I don't know, and they on average.
I think they're a very good they're a very good unit, but I don't think I don't think there's any players that you'd maybe take out of there and that would do as well in a different setup.
Yeah, no,
I
agree.
You do find that often where there's players that they're at their right level and they play well together. Like arguably, like Leicester's backline when they won the league.
Yeah.
Wes Morgan, etc., Danny Simpson, those kind of players. They did a very good job for their team, but I don't think they were ever in a conversation of, moving on to somewhere else and doing the same kind of thing.
No,
I think Simpson now he didn't even. I think he only lasted another year.
I'm pretty sure all of them have moved on and not really, other than Morgan and obviously.
Yeah, so Morgan's in the basically barely plays now. Fuchs, I don't think plays. Who was the other centre back with him? Was Evans there at that point, or was
No,
he?
it was Huth, and I think he's at
Oh,
Stoke.
Huth, yeah. So Huth's gone as well, yeah. So they looked good that year, but I don't think they were. I think it was just they were in the right place at the right time together.
They were a prime example of like a cohesive unit rather than
Yeah,
individual players, and I think that's what that Sheffield team is.
yeah. So they took a few of the stars left, Kante, Mahrez, and but then you look at someone like Drinkwater. So Drinkwater is actually probably that perfect example.
Yeah,
He was very good in that system, but his career has fallen off since he left Leicester.
yeah.
So I think the Sheffield players are a bit similar. You know, the players like Lundstrom, that kind of thing. They operate very well for Wilder and that club, but I don't think anyone's seriously considering them for other moves.
So, do you think if Henderson came in Manchester United and he's got these players like Lindelof and Maguire, etc., in front of him, would that benefit him or would it not? Because you would assume.
I can't remember who said it, but they said the key to being a keeper at United is you have to you're not, well, maybe not so much in recent years, but generally you're not doing anything for 80 minutes. And then for that next 10 minutes or the last 10 minutes or a minute here or there, that's when you have to be switched on. And that's like a different skill to being peppered with shots constantly.
Yeah, now I can imagine that.
So, I mean, it's definitely, obviously, it's a different level. And obviously there'd be more games, there'd be European games, etc. But I don't know. I think maybe it's worth taking the risk. He's done well. Obviously, he's made mistakes as well, but he's younger, right? And he seems at the moment he looks hungrier. I think that's one thing I've seen with De Gea. He just doesn't look as hungry as he used to. I don't know whether it's he wanted to go to Madrid or whatnot.
I have
because everyone knows he wanted to go, right? But I always thought once he signed the new deal that it'd be back to his best. And
when it comes to the hunger, I think you're completely right. So if we take that example, I think that blunder he made against Mo Salah early in the season, it gives the win to Liverpool, and Wilder comes out and kind of publicly says that he needs to be better if he thinks he wants to. If he has,
and a lot of players would react badly to that, but he came back strong. He's taking it on.
And then on a side note, I was recently on a YouTube rabbit hole and I came across this video of Dean Henderson trying to complete world records, and his world record that he was trying to complete was, I think, the quickest to get into a full goalkeeping outfit, so studs, gloves, the full gear on. And this guy tried it about 4 times. So he did it the first time and he was like a couple seconds off, and he said, "I'm doing it again." Takes it all off and does it again. Takes it all off, does it again. And I just thought to myself, wow, this guy really does want this world record title. It doesn't mean anything, but you can tell that he's competitively driven and he wants to. He'll keep trying it, and it looks like a very mundane task, constantly putting the same outfit on and off. To the extent where even the presenter of the video was even like, "Oh, you want to try again? Haha!" Like, okay, you don't have to. Like, we've already got your name in the thumbnail. Yeah. But yeah, if he does come back to Manchester United and he does get a genuine go at getting that number 1 shirt, I would be excited for him. He's traditionally probably a bit of a smaller goalkeeper than usual, but I think that he makes up for it kind of with his mental focus, and you can tell as well he's quite a vocal goalkeeper.
And I think the other thing, I mean, is you mentioned his height, but De Gea's never really been a big physical presence, has he? So that's always been an area that he's lacked in anyway. And then look, if you look at the modern keepers, they're not, maybe Neuer aside, they're not really massive units anymore. They're more like kind of like midfielders that can also save the ball. Their build wise, but and also I think him being a United fan does help. I mean, people might overlook that, but you look at the players like Greenwood, Rashford when they play for United, like there's a different level of desire and hunger.
Yeah, certainly, because I think to them it's definitely it's not a job. It's more than that. Whereas I think maybe for other players, I think Patrice Evra's touched on this a lot of the times. He says a lot of the players don't know what Manchester United means. For them, it's just they're a football player. And he says that, that kind of Keane and all these other guys in the locker room kind of educated him on what Manchester United was. And I think as a fan, you know what it means to play for that club.
I mean, there's that classic picture of there's Henderson is in the crowd when Rashford scored his first goal, right? And you can see him celebrating. Those are the kind of players you want in your club. And I mean, Klopp, I think he went a bit overboard, but he said recently he wanted a team full of locals from Liverpool as his entire team, which I think is probably pushing it a bit and a bit harsh on your players who aren't from Liverpool who've done such a good job. But You do want that core around the club, that they know the club's values, that kind of stuff. They're brought up on the club.
Yeah.
I mean, it's made a difference, right? Even with the signings that we've made, they might not be United fans, but they know what it means to play for United. So while there might be better players out there, and we signed better players, they haven't been as effective as the ones that are actually genuinely want to be there.
No, I agree. I think Igal was the prime example we mentioned before.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a
So
genuine fan.
I'd say probably even Bruno. So you compare Bruno to maybe like Di Maria. I mean, I'd never even heard of Bruno before the start of the season. It was only when we started getting linked with him. But with Di Maria was already like a global superstar, Champions League winner, etc. But when you look at the desire that they play with, Bruno from day one has looked like he wants to be here, and he knows what it's about, and he wants to do well, and that makes a big difference. Even if talent wise there might not be that much, between them.
Speaking about Bruno Fernandes, the breaking news this week is the correct pronunciation of his name.
I did see a clip going around, but I haven't actually watched it.
So the pronunciation is Bruno Fernandes or something along those lines. Now,
okay,
I admit it does.
We'll just stick to Bruno, I think.
Yeah. So I think so first of all, there's a different dialect in tone between Spanish and Portuguese apparently, but also whilst I was playing FIFA one of the times, the commentator kept referring to him as Bruno Fernandes, and I was just like, why does he keep calling him Fernandes? I don't understand. But yeah, now I do. So the more you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's important that you pronounce people's names properly. It's an issue we've all suffered with, right? So yeah, if that's how he suggests it, if that's how he says it's pronounced, that's what we'll try and include going forward. But yeah, I guess with the Chelsea game, there's not really much else to say other than the goalkeeping mistakes. I didn't think Chelsea were that much better. They weren't 3-1 better than us in the day.
I don't think they were 3-1 better than us. I think they definitely deserved the win because we didn't produce anything to suggest that we should have won that game.
Yeah, we didn't create much, but I don't think they created too much either. You'd say really the Giroud goal was really the only clear-cut chance they created. I mean, the other goal, I said De Gea mistake. Third goal, Maguire was unfortunate. It was an own goal.
Yeah,
it wasn't like we felt like we were getting thrashed, but.
I think the mistakes are even results of just the risks that they're taking, and that's what we lacked in that game. Bruno was still trying it, but he was just, I don't know, the guy's just probably tired at this point. You're playing so many games.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing a lot. He's been playing a lot of football, and that's kind of what I was referring to with like the depth thing. Is maybe like a game against Palace would have been the one, or even the Southampton game would have been one where you'd like maybe another option to give Bruno a rest, or even to take him off earlier in the game. Because I always prefer for him to play and then get the result put to bed. But you saw when we took him off in the Southampton game, the intensity dropped, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we need a better option, another better depth option to just to mean he doesn't have to play every single minute of every single game. As much as I'd like to see that, I don't think it's probably not the best option, the best thing long term.
As much as I'd like to avoid the prospect of seeing Andreas Pereira fulfilling that position.
Well, I think Lingard came on against Palace, right? And it's like, yeah.
I think everyone was a bit confused about that.
We won't go too much into it, but yeah. Overall, to be honest, I was a bit annoyed at first, but it's like when you put into context, 1 defeat in 20 games, first defeat since the restart, first defeat since Bruno joined. If we go and win our next 2 games, we get top 4, which potentially even top 3 because Chelsea are playing Liverpool. I'd be pretty happy with that. Obviously, it'd be nice to win a trophy, but we're considering when we restarted the podcast, we were talking about basically having to win every league game to get into the top 4, and which we almost have. We've only drawn 2 games in the league. The rest of them have been wins. So if we do pull it off, it'd be a pretty good turnaround. And if that helps us get Sancho as well, then I'll be satisfied with the end of the season.
We've got games now remaining against West Ham and Leicester. We could potentially already have qualified by the time we play Leicester. I believe there's also a scenario where if Leicester and us just played a 0-0 draw, we would knock Chelsea out.
It's really complicated, right? Because so at the moment, I think Chelsea are still in third at the moment, right?
Yes.
So Chelsea are a point ahead of Leicester. but Leicester have a far superior goal difference. So if Chelsea lose to Liverpool and Wolves, and we both then us and Leicester draw, we both have better goal differences than Chelsea. Yeah, so it's a strange scenario.
Would be a nice little way for Ole to get one back over his
I'm not sure that we can definitely guarantee it before the Leicester game.
Chelsea,
because even if we beat West Ham, then we'll be 2 points ahead of Chelsea and 3 points ahead of Leicester. So if we lost and Chelsea won, they'd edge us on a point. So we can't guarantee it until we have to get a result out of both games basically. So a win and a draw is enough.
We need David Moyes, please, for that 10 months of torture you gave me. Just your
they're safe now, right? So basically, so they've got a 14 goal cushion on Aston Villa as well as the 6 points. So they're essentially safe. So I can't imagine. I mean, they've been playing reasonably well. Yeah, they've won 3 out of the last 5.
I will accept nothing less than Antonio starting off in goal for West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a quote. He was saying the difference between him and Solskjaer is Solskjaer's getting time. Which, I don't know. Fine. You didn't get much time. What was it, 7 months? But I don't think we had any runs under Moyes that felt like any of the stuff Ollie's been able to do.
And also, I think the context.
Other than maybe the first game against Swansea, that was about it. Really, it was all downhill after that.
I think the context also of the fact that we were literally Premier League champions at the time, whereas at this point,
people used to say we were the worst champions Fergie ever put together, but we were still champions by like 13 points.
If you say we're the worst, if you say we're the worst champions, then what does that mean about the rest of the league in that season?
I know exactly. Right, that's how much they were looking to criticize us. We were apparently Fergie's worst champions. Which, I mean, we won it by like 13 points, but okay.
At this point, I'll take anything. Worst champions, smallest champions, anything, any type of champions. But it's going to be a very interesting week. It kind of feels like we've almost got kind of 2 cup finals. I'm confident that we will get in that top 4, if not so on our own credentials, but I just can't see Chelsea getting 6 points against Liverpool and Wolves. I think Leicester.
And I also think with Leicester's form as well, I think I'm confident we'll beat them.
Yeah,
they looked horrendous against Spurs, like really bad, and like they're not getting Soyuncu back. Chilwell's injured. Chilwell's out for the season as well.
I believe Maddison's out as well.
The defense is makeshift at the moment. It's away, but it's like we said before, and without the crowd, away games it doesn't really make that much difference.
Certainly not as much as pre-lockdown anyway.
Yeah, so I'm confident we'll get. I mean, I'm actually a little bit more worried about West Ham than Leicester.
We've had a couple
just because again
games.
It's so soon after. It's so soon after the Chelsea game. That's the thing.
We've genuinely had some tricky games against West Ham as well over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, especially this one's at home, isn't it? So, but even actually at home we've struggled. I remember there was that. There's a few Mourinho incidents that don't look too fondly on. But yeah, I think we put ourselves in a good position, considering where we were even at the start of the lockdown.
I'm glad our destiny is in our own hands.
It's in our hands, yeah.
And we're
not relying on anyone.
Yeah, it's up to us to get those 6 points.
And we've actually now lost. We've lost the second least games in the league, joint with Wolves. City have lost more games than us this season.
That's pretty crazy to think City have lost 9 games and we've only lost 8.
City have lost 9 and us and Wolves have lost 8. So one of the things that's killed us off is we've drawn 11 games.
And I think that was kind of that mid-season run where we were draw
after draw after draw, yeah.
And we played Wolves 11 times.
Yeah, Wolves have got 14 draws. So yeah, I'd say maybe 10 each are against each other probably.
Yeah, no, certainly.
I'm sure we'll be set to face them in the Europa League semis as well.
I would genuinely not be surprised. Just before we wrap things up, we saw Eric Bailly go off with quite a serious-looking head injury. I think.
They just posted a picture on Twitter. He looks okay now. He's training again.
It's good news.
That's good. So,
credit to him. He's a bit crazy. He's a bit crazy for jumping up for a second header after he's already took a knock. But fair play to him. I think that's his style.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have liked to probably seen him go off after the first one. That's probably the right thing to do. But obviously, we weren't there. We weren't in the situation. We don't know what.
And obviously, Harry Maguire being the great captain he is, he said, you need to get off Eric. So took a chunk out of the back of his head.
Exactly. He thought he'll take it into his own hands and knock him out.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's good to see that he's okay and he's smiling as well in the picture.
Certainly.
So that's good. But yeah, so we won't do another one this week, but we've got. I guess we'll actually maybe after the Leicester game, because Leicester we're playing on Sunday, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe either Sunday or early next week we'll be back discussing, hopefully, that we secured top 4 and just a preview of the Europa League then after that.
That is the ideal situation to be in.
Yeah. Do you know when does the Europa League kick off again?
I believe it's mid-August. August the 8th is
It'd be good if we get a couple of weeks break. I would like that.
Yeah, I think for sure the players definitely need a rest. It's been a very intense post-COVID campaign.
So we're facing Lask on the 5th of August. So we get about a week.
That game is probably the most pointless game of football.
Yeah, when you look at the other first legs, right? So the Shakhtar Wolfsburg, Shakhtar won 2-1. Copenhagen, Istanbul, 1-0. Inter and Getafe never got their first leg in, so theirs has become a single leg fixture. Sevilla, Roma, same situation. Leverkusen, Rangers, 3-1. Basel, Frankfurt, 3-0. Wolves 1-1, and then you got us. We won 5-0 away from home.
Credit to Lask, it's probably a nice day out.
Yeah. So I'd imagine we'll probably rest quite a lot of players in that game as well.
You'd hope so.
Although maybe the week off they have, there'll be enough rest. But yeah, we'll deal with all that next week. But yeah, so if you want to give us a review on iTunes, that kind of stuff, you can do, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers, everyone.